All right, so in the interest of keeping things cooler under the hood, I'm going to be installing a heat shield blanket over the headers here. Now, when you get rid of the OEM exhaust, you get rid of the heat shield that was there. Not that it really did much anyway, it's just a piece of thin metal. But now the exhaust wrap on the headers does a fair bit, but I'm going to be installing a hot side supercharger that sits right here, and I don't want that to get too heat soaked and raising my intake air temperatures beyond what I really want, especially since I'm not going to be running an intercooler with that system for now. So to do that, I'm installing this heat shield blanket from Trat Dog Racing. It's a pretty nice piece of kit. It installs on the studs for the exhaust manifold with a bracket that comes with the kit, or you can just wrap wire around the header and keep it in place that way, which you have to do when you're running the supercharger. But I'm going to use the brackets since I'm running the OEM setup for now. Just keep it a little cleaner and hopefully get these temps down. Let's get to it. Okay, change of plans. It didn't fit with these brackets. I don't know why. It's just not going in like I had hoped. So I'm just gonna take those off, force it in, and wrap it with wire. Keep it in place that way. See how that works. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much done with the heat shield here. What I ended up doing was wiring it with some baling wire to a little custom bracket. It's black so you can't see it, but it's just two holes. One hole is off the stud here. You can see with that little nut. That's the bolt for the timing cover. Just got a longer one at the store and used the remaining stud to bolt down the little bracket I made, and then wired the front side of the heat shield to that. Back side of the heat shield is just going to get wired to the grounding strap here. So that should keep it in place, and I've got nothing in the way for when I need to install the supercharger, which will be sitting right about here. So yeah, I think that should work out pretty good. Keep the intake air temperatures down, and then keep the supercharger a little colder when that's on there. Okay, I'm here at the MAZDA trying to figure out fuel vapor smells. Now, when I open the doors after a hot day, if the top's not open, if I've got the hard top on or something, there's just a lot of fuel smell in here. Now, I think I got it figured out in the trunk. The vapor tube, the vent tube was replaced. That runs parallel to the filler tube that's on the driver's side of the car. And I think that got most of the smell out of the trunk, but still a lot in the cab. So I'm thinking it's that guy. So the large plate at the top is the fuel pump cover. You can see it's all weathered. It's probably never been taken off. And so that is the OEM gasket in there. It's probably gone bad. So I got a new gasket. I'm going to try to replace that and see if that helps. Now, I know Miatas are the perfect car, but they really liked Phillips head screws. These little Phillips heads that are holding down this cover, they just strip out. So I'm gonna try to grab them with vice grips and pull them out that way. Hopefully Hopefully that's enough, because I really don't want to get in there with any special tools. Fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes. I got the fuel pump out, got the old seal out. I mean, it looks okay. Maybe that's a problem. But I also found that the return line hose, I don't know if you can see it there, is all cracked. It's probably wearing out, getting thin. So I might as well go ahead and replace that as well. See if that helps. Now, Mazda engineers, for some reason, chose screws with the smallest possible button head on them, so it's pretty difficult. The ones that were stuck, you can see it's all torn up. Pretty difficult to get the vice clamp on there, but got them all out. I'm going to replace them with stainless steel hardware. These have a head that should be much easier to remove if I ever have to again. So yeah, that should be real nice. Okay, so I got all the screws replaced in here. It's looking good, all tightened up. New gasket for the fuel pump cover here. And then I also replaced the return line here with a new tube, since the old one was visibly cracked all over. So we'll see if that combination of new tube and gasket solves my vapor smell issue. So it looks pretty dorky without the bumper on it, so definitely gonna get one of those put on as soon as I can. I've got this aftermarket one, I don't know, I ordered a long time ago. Who made this thing? Racing Beat, supposedly. At least that's what it's marked for. So it's all fiberglass, pretty much the cheapest bumper I could find that wasn't the Duraflex, because I just don't like the way any of those looked. This one looks pretty good, but it didn't come with any mounting holes anywhere on it. So I mean, there's holes in it, but they don't line up with the actual bumper brackets. The holes that were drilled out here didn't actually line up with the holes here. So I went back and filled these all in with fiberglass filler and some epoxy, finish it off and sand it back down. So we'll mark the new locations based on the slots and the fenders, get those drilled out, mount the bumper up, and then figure out where the top's going to line up. And these are the slots for the screws on the end of the bracket. Get those marked out and get the bracket in the bumper, and then put it back on, and then with the bracket in it, and then just try to start lining things up. Hopefully it all comes together. Who knows if this thing's even made properly. It was pretty cheap, so fingers crossed. All right, so last time I was actually driving this car, which feels like a while ago at this point, I was getting some rattles. Sounded like it was down near the transmission, but you know, it's hard to tell when you're up inside the vehicle, so it's somewhere under the car. And so I was down here banging on the exhaust and trying to track down. I did hear a rattle, and I found out it was this baffle that's inside of the exhaust tube here. And this is just an insert. This one's filled with glass, just to make it a little quieter while I'm just daily driving it. Now these inserts are just put in with a single bolt, and then it just kind of self-aligns in the tube. And when I first installed it, it sat down pretty close to the bottom of the cylinder here, and I guess it just couldn't get a good seat, or not really sure. The bolt was definitely tight, but it could still rattle inside here if you gave it enough force. So my solution was to, you can see it in there, add a little copper crush washer and then just crush that in between the insert here and the actual exhaust tip, and that seems to have fixed that loose bit. At least I'm going to go down and make sure that all of the you can see the wire hanging down there. All that wiring is tied up nice and sturdy with some zip ties to the PPF frame there, and then just double check everything's tight and looks good. Hopefully fix all the rattles. One other thing I'd found is, so this little connector that goes on the temp sensor above the thermostat, the wire had been, it's at a pretty sharp bend all the time, and it had just gotten split. The actual insulation around the wire had split, so I just put some liquid electrical tape on it. That's a little hole I got to fill, just trying to give it some protection from the elements and hopefully prevent it from bending too far without some rigidity. But yeah, this is just little things I'm tidying up while I'm putting it back together. Just some housekeeping. Next on the adventure of finding rattles. So these aftermarket headlights didn't fit quite right. Even when I first installed them, I had to shave some of the metal on the back of the housing just to fit into the clocking features on the bucket for the headlights. But these little sheet metal rings that retain the headlights in place, at least axially, they didn't get tight. I don't know, it's like the thickness just wasn't quite right. So I put some foam, like a little foam strip, along the outer diameter of the light, and I thought that was good. But then I just was sitting over here and for some reason just started tapping on it, and sure enough it clacked. So it's not tight enough. So my solution was to fill it with whatever the heck I found in the shop here. This, I don't really know what this is, but it feels like some sort of felt. Not really sure what it's used for, but it was in a bucket. It fit perfect. So I just did a few strips about this long in a couple places, and now they're snug as a bug. Hopefully that doesn't compress as like the foam did. I think the foam, that was the issue. The foam just compressed over time. This seems pretty incompressible relatively, so hopefully that shim works out. So here's what I've tried to do with the sound deadening. Just cover most of the exposed metal and all up under there. But this is where the subwoofer mounts. This is a really thin Pioneer, one of the thinnest subwoofers that's kind of self-contained on the market, amp and everything that I could find. But it works pretty good. And I'm just trying to add some foam here on top of the sound deadening that it'll mount to, just to kind of absorb some of the vibrations on the back side so it's not rattling on the metal, and hopefully that improves the sound a bit when I really increase the levels and everything, and we'll see how it works. Okay, got it all mounted up, pretty secure. Just tested it out. Still a bit of a rattle, but I don't think I'm ever gonna really get rid of it. It's just a lot of thin sheet metal to this whole area. If I mounted it up here, I'm pretty sure it's gonna sound worse. So I think down here is my best bet, and then kind of out of the way. And sorry to my passenger, I won't be able to let the seat go all the way back if they're really tall, but at least it's not behind the driver's seat. So if I needed to bring it all the way back for someone tall trying to drive, then that's still an option. I'm pretty pleased with the sound overall. I could do a sound test here. I find that some no copyright sounds. Let me pull it up here. Okay, that is not what I wanted. Let's see if there's something bassy. Okay, not a fan of the song, but at least you get an idea of the bass. Okay, thanks a lot. Oh my God. And I'm not a fan of NCS. So you can hear the rattle start and really bump it up. Oh my God, there's no bass in any song. There we go. Honestly, not too bad. It really depends on the song and the frequencies that they're sending, and of course I can adjust the frequency. So if I make it a little, increase the frequency range, it's gonna get more bass and honestly more rattle. So I just gotta play with that. I hope it's not really too much of a per song basis, but honestly the sound system sounds really good for just this one Sony head unit powering all the speakers, which are in the headrests and in the doors, and then the bass from the subwoofer has its own internal power unit. It just receives some audio signals, but yeah, it's not terrible, not great. For Miata, it's pretty good. Not that I'm ever going to play it that high, so yeah, overall, I like it. Not too expensive, pretty easy, done. So just to give you an idea, the speakers in the headrests, I'm just using some pile two-way speakers. These are 120 watts, 3.5 inch. Just cut out the foam so that they'd fit. I think part number is PL32BL. Pretty cheap. So $40 basically due to the whole 2 seats here. So that's a pretty good deal. All right, so I pulled it out. Finally got it off the lift after, I don't know how long, a week? I don't know. Long enough for you to get mad, right, Jared?
Yep.
But got the transmission out, put back in, replaced the drive shaft, replaced some seals, took the exhaust manifold out, painted it with some silicone, high temp paint, put that back in. And then I've been working on sound deadening some of the interior because I had to take that portion of the carpet out anyways on the top deck because I had to replace the fuel pump, gasket, so the seal around the top of the fuel pump cover, and then some of the tubing near the fuel tank because I just get some really bad vapor smells. That's all done, and at the same time I could never get my soft top that is newly installed ever put up, so I unbolted all the support bolts inside on all the rails and the brackets that come down and mount behind this the pillar on this side of these sides of the car, and that way we could actually get it to close. I'll let it stretch out here in the sun, then I'll tighten the clips again, let it stretch again, and then finally tighten up all the bolts, and hopefully that way I can actually put it up without having 3 guys manhandle it. But the main thing is I can now get it into reverse, and all the other gears found what was stuck in the shifter, and that's fixed. And that little repair led to me doing everything else. I got a few more things to button up in the back, mainly getting the subwoofer reattached and make it so it doesn't rattle as bad, and get the top buttoned up after it stretches. Check the oil level since I just replaced that. Hopefully that's good. And then the final piece is getting the bumper all lined up, drilled out, and mounted up.
And wrapped.
Oh yeah, gotta wrap it. It's just plain black now.
Cool.